Hey there, it's Dorleen. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm a guest designer on the Printable Cuttable Creatables design team, and I'm working on a graduation card. There is a spring blog hop happening right now on their website, and all the information is going to be in the details box. So please check it out because there's all kinds of prizes and discounts and free files and just all kinds of fun activities. Plus, you get to blog hop, and I know everybody's got great projects. There's a lot of talent on this design team. I'm going to quickly go over the cutting measurements and also scoring information, but if you don't want to pause and write it down, you can go to my blog, which again, it's part of this blog hop, and I'll have my blog address down in the information box as well. So you can just go over there to get all the information, but basically the card base is 5.5 by 11 inches, and you're going to score it at 1 3/4, 5.5, and 9 3/4. Now you're going to cut some pattern papers or cardstock, whatever you decide. You need, well, I use 3 different ones, but you can use whatever combination of paper. Cards are a great way to use paper scraps, and if you're like me, you've got a lot of them. But I went ahead and went through my papers, like I mentioned, and I'm going to cut 2 at 3.5 by 5 1/4. I'm going to do 2 at 1 by 5 1/4 and 1 at 1.5 by 5 1/4. We're also going to need a 1 by 10 inch piece of cardstock. That's going to be the band that goes around the card, and you'll see that at the end what exactly I'm talking about. Now, also, which is optional, and I did include it on mine since I have a black cardstock base, is I cut a piece of white cardstock at 4 and 5 1/4. I kept everything at 5 1/4 as far as height. So I did decide to use that red glitter paper because the graduation or school colors for this particular graduate is red, black, and white. And I love that glitter paper. I think it just adds so much more fun to the celebration. And hey, that's what it is, right? It is a celebration. So I'm going to go through all my cutting here. Really simple, very easy. And like I mentioned earlier, all the measurements for the cutting and the scoring will be on my blog, and that information will be in the detail box below, as well as all the details to the blog. Now, I don't know if you remember, but if you are a subscriber of mine, you know that I used to be part of the Printable Cuttable Creatables design team. I love her cut files, and I was really happy. I decided to stop because I just was feeling a little overwhelmed with just projects due. Not that it was a lot, but I was on a couple of different design teams. But she reached out to me and asked if I wanted to participate in this blog hop. Of course, I said yes because I do love the files. And you know what? I do need to stock my graduation cards. It is that time of the year, folks. I went ahead and used my precision glue press to add the papers. But you did probably notice that I did use my ATG and the glue for the the glitter cardstock. And the reason why I did that is because it's a lot thicker than regular pattern paper or even cardstock, and I wanted to make sure that it stayed on the card. I don't know if it really needed it, but I had both on my desk, so I figured, why not? I'd rather be safe than sorry. But look at how it looks so far. Isn't that so gorgeous with that glitter paper? I love it. I mentioned before I'm going to add white directly behind or in that main part, so that way when I write my greeting or my congratulations, things like that, you will be able to see it without using a white pen. And I do put that glitter cardstock over there on the left side. Again, that's the 3.5 by 4 1/4 inch panel. So I'm just going to glue those on. Again, I'm going to do the same thing with the glitter by using both combination of the two adhesives. Whether it needs it or not, you know what? I'm okay with it. So again, blog hop going on. I hope you decide to go over there. First of all, the cut files from Printable Cuttable Creatables are so cute, and they're really easy. The thing I love about these files is you get a couple of different options within the file. And when I say that, I mean, if you work with cut files, you know, when you do them on paper and when you cut it with vinyl, let's say, it's a little bit different because you don't normally want to have all those layers with vinyl. And in this case, she'll have things cut out and it'll be a little bit more specific to the materials you're using. So that's an extra bonus, and it's less work that you have to do in the long run. I didn't film, when I uploaded it into Cricut Design Space, I didn't film as the mats were cutting because I thought pretty basic. I just basically changed the colors on this layer here, the red one that I'm holding, and I changed the tassel color and then the ribbon around the diploma to red because I knew, again, that was the school colors that I was doing. But you could basically just use the file as is because they have it set up as a gold, and that's pretty generic too, so you don't really necessarily had to do it that way, but that's what I did. And what I like to do is I like to lay out the pieces or the layers of the pieces before I start gluing anything, because I really want to make sure that I'm putting them in the right place. Now in this little part too, if you can tell, that black piece is so thin, the cuts are so thin that it's really kind of like a pen writing. Because I cut this in such a small size, that's why it's so tiny. It didn't cut all the way out. I'm okay with that, folks. I went ahead and glued this on. I know I just mentioned to you that I place everything first, but the only reason why I did it is because it was so tiny I didn't want to lose it or tear it. And then I end up going back and using a pen, a black pen, and kind of highlighting those areas that didn't quite make it when I was cutting it out with my Cricut. So it was more of a too small to cut it in Cricut problem versus the file problem. I hope that makes sense because it really is a cute file. So again, I'm layering everything where it's supposed to go prior to actually adding any kind of glue. Believe me, folks, this is a huge tip. There have been lots of times where I mean, this one's pretty easy because it's words, but there have been lots of times where I think I have the position correct. I'd put glue on it and then realize, oh my gosh, I have it backwards, or something like that. And I know it seems silly. And this, like I said, file is pretty simple because they're mostly words, but I always just do that because it's my habit, and I think it does help me to keep the same steps every time so I don't mess up the next time. And there have been times, believe me, where I think, oh, I don't need to, and I always seem to mess up. I guess that's just me. But I wanted to point out that I'm also using this little picker tool that I have over there on the right. This type of tool is perfect for these tiny pieces. You saw me putting down all the stars. Now you're also going to notice that there's plenty of times when I just use my fingers. It's just so much easier. I always say my fingers are like my favorite tool because it's just easier to use your hands, or at least for me it is. But I do need to get a little bit more used to using this little picker tool because it's so helpful, especially on those little tiny stars that I was trying to add here and there. And before I forget, I just wanted to ask you, please give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. I do post 2 videos a week. One is always scrapbooking. The other is whatever it is I'm creating in the Command Center, which is the name of my blog and also my craft room. But you can see here what I was talking about by just using a fine point black pen and just outlining that diploma. And you could see how, if it wasn't so tiny, how much better it looks with that lining, or that black lining all the way around. But it's so pretty and it's so cute. And honestly, if you looked really close up, you can't even tell that's a pen versus the paper like how I have it. But anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and use my glue again just to put those layers together. I did decide to put the foam adhesive on the back of this one here, so it just pops up just a little bit because why not? We're adding more cool stuff to the card because graduations are really a great time to celebrate. Graduates always are so excited for their next step, whatever that is, from college or high school or kindergarten or any other kind of graduation. But super simple to do. The card, as you could tell, was very easy. And when you look at it and when your recipients receive it, it just looks so amazing. Like, oh my gosh, somebody made this. And you folks are my witnesses on how really simple this card was. But don't tell anybody. I want them to think that I worked really hard on this guy. I did decide to change this red band. I just didn't like the dullness of the red next to that really bright, sparkly red paper or red glitter paper. So I did decide to just cut another piece, and this is again 1 by 10 inches, and you just wrap it around. You don't want it to be too tight because you want it to be able to move up and down, because that belly band is going to come off completely when that person opens the card. And so again, you don't want it to be too loose where it falls off, and you also don't want it to be too tight where it doesn't. It's that middle, Goldilocks thing. And as I'm doing this, I'm realizing I did not glue down 2 of the stars, and you may have noticed that earlier. And as I'm reviewing this, I did notice it there. That middle one comes off too, and I end up doing that one too. Whatever. At least I didn't lose them. I'm really happy I didn't lose them. And I'm just going to put some adhesive in the middle part of that cut file. I'm also going to use both regular glue and the ATG because I want it to stick, because it's going to get some movement and I don't want it to fall off. So once I put this down, I'm going to go back to the top or to the front, and I'm going to use a white pen, and I'm going to add some details here and there, mostly around the lettering, because again, I just really want this to pop, because all the small details really do make a huge difference. Now, did you see here in that middle star, it's all moved over there to the left? Yeah, I realized it too, but I'm glad I realized it when I'm here. So I did put some more adhesive there, and you're going to see me in just a minute doing that. But right now, like I mentioned, I'm going to use my black pen to just continue that lining, because there was a couple of spots I thought, needed a little bit more, and then the white, and it's pretty much done, folks. But I did want to point out again and just remind you, make sure that you go to the information box, check out all the different blogs, all the different projects, leave comments and leave some love, because we all love that. And then when you're all done with that, you want to go to the main blog post, and you're going to post or leave a comment on which project or which blog post was your favorite. And then by doing that, you are being eligible for a virtual wallet prize, which basically is virtual, money towards files on the Printable Cuttable Creatables website. There's discounts, there's a freebie, so look around for all the blogs for a code. There's lots of fun things going on. But thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up. And again, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And again, thank you so much for watching. Bye. And good luck.